First FOMC meeting since November that finally is bullish for crypto. And then we got something massive that just happened that is a total game changer. I will explain. We got PCE index coming out this week on Friday, and I can finally say those magical words. I think altcoin season is about to start within 3 weeks. I will explain. Crypto price predictions and technical analysis as always. My people, let's get into the charts. Let's get this started. All right, so first and foremost, let's talk about what has been. So last week we had the FOMC meeting and we had a federal fund rates decision. The fund rates or the interest rates came out exactly as predicted or as forecasted as 4.5. So it didn't do much for the market. That was already priced in. But at the FOMC meeting, Jerome Powell gave us a sign that we actually really needed. That is very bullish for crypto. And that is that QT will slow down. So not stop as many saw it as, but they will slow it down. They will pause it, which is hopefully what's leading up to them stopping QT, quantitative tightening, and switching over to quantitative easing. So it means money printing. Now they said they're going to reduce their selling of securities from 25 billion a month to 5 billion a month. So basically they're reducing the speed of how they're sucking up the liquidity from the markets. Quantitative easing is of course the opposite. They are buying bonds from the markets, injecting liquidity into it. So they're buying it with printed money. And that is supposed to go into effect the 1st of April. So mark that in your calendar because 1st of April will be an interesting day and it will offer some volatility, even though this is already priced in. In the same time, speaking of the Federal Reserve, this week on Friday, we have the PCE index release. And this is critical data for Fed and recession outlook. So this here will hint if they will go more hawkish or dovish on future FOMC meetings and on the federal fund rates decision. What do I mean with that? I mean, this will indicate if the inflation is increasing, which means they have to increase interest rates, or they cannot slow down as much with QT, quantitative tightening, or the opposite. Inflation rate is coming down, things are looking good for QT to transition over to QE. So the money printing can start, liquidity can get injected into the system, and Bitcoin and altcoins can start booming. So we started off this week with Fear and Greed Index at 31. It had bounced up from 22, extreme fear last week. And it's showing that basically what we've seen also that the confidence in the markets is growing back a little bit. In the same time, we can see that the majority of whales are shorting the market. So whales are short on the markets. You can see here 930 millions in short and 740 millions in long positions. Here you see the most recent short positions that are opened and even some long positions closed just recently here. And this is of course all from Hyperliquid Whale Tracker. If we look at the Hyper dashboard, then we see also the same thing. Majority is selling. Now this is a good thing. This is actually a bullish thing and I will explain why in a minute. First, we got to talk about the other side because this side that I'm talking about now is the whales. And now we will talk about the institutions and then we will compare those two to each other. And I will show you the signal that is needed for a bull rally to really trigger. On the 2nd of April, the US tariffs, the Donald Trump tariffs comes into effect. But the good news now are that the White House scales back on the tariffs for the 2nd of April, focusing on targeted reciprocal taxes instead. And that is, of course, bullish for crypto. But as we know, Trump and his administration by now, this can have changed 50 times up until the 2nd of April. So we will see what happens. But I have a feeling that he will use this and play with this to get the market where he wants it. So he will either tank or bank the market on these news on the 2nd of April. Now to that major thing that I was talking about, and that is that the IMF is stacking Bitcoin while telling others not to. Just focus on the first part of what I said. IMF is stacking Bitcoin. IMF is the biggest opponent, is the biggest enemy of Bitcoin. They hate Bitcoin because what does Bitcoin do? It is a decentralized currency or store of value that is trustless, all right? Permissionless. It's fully transparent and it's decentralized. So it's everything the opposite of IMF that has no transparency, is totally centralized, and is definitely not a trustless system. Now, for you that don't know what IMF is, now you know what central banks are. They basically run the world. So IMF runs the central banks. It's the IMF that central banks go to get loans. And that they stack Bitcoin, that is just incredible. That is something that we could have not imagined in our wildest fantasies a couple of years ago. And I have to add to this that they are the ones telling countries not to buy Bitcoin. One of them, El Salvador, but El Salvador gave them the middle finger. But this is for you that believe that Bitcoin is dead or something like that. It's going to zero, it's going to 20K. Guys, seriously, like, do you understand on what level this has come to? And the demand has exploded into what level? Into an international governmental level. BTC is going to reach 500,000. BTC is going to reach 1 million. And I'm sure it's going to reach even 10 million US dollars. But by then it will be much more because the US dollar will be worthless. But the fact is that a sub 100K Bitcoin is a bargain. It's on discount. So if you buy it at 70K or at 80K or at 99K, you're still getting it cheap couple of years ahead. And that's all you got to think. This has got to be a 5-year, 10-year investment strategy for you, at least minimum a 3-year investment strategy for you. That will make you a fortune. All right, now to why I think that institutions are about to start accumulating from the whales. They will trigger the whales to sell, and they will start buying up everything that they are selling. They cannot trigger us to sell because there's none of us left. You see the green line here, that's us retail traders, all right? We are at record low, sub bear market low. Just to show you this in context, this is bull market. Boom, boom. The red line here represents whale. This is the COT index, by the way. The red line represents whales and the blue line represents institution. Commercial money. Now, every time crypto is pumping, that is when you have majority of institutions on the buy side here, all right? And whales have sold into the institutions. When they start dumping up their positions, what happens? Markets start to flip. So right now what's happening is that we are at... So right now what is happening is that we have a very low institutional activity in BTC right now, and they are prepping up. It's turning right now, as you can see, and they are prepping up to start buying. And when they buy from the whales. So something needs to happen right now that will trigger whales to start selling into institutions. And that, of course, has to be some form of news. But then in the same time, I can say this, that institutions are already accumulating from the whales. Okay, of course, we see this curve sloping, but look at this here. Majority of whales are selling. Look at this here. Majority of whales are selling. And I want to see this number increase. I want to see this ratio increase at least to like 25-75, so that most whales are shorting the market. That is when I believe and know that the bottom is near, and the turn upwards on a bullish run is very, very close. So there will probably be one more liquidation event, and I firmly believe that it will take us down at least to about 67-69K for one BTC. It might take us down all the way to 55K or something like that, just to liquidate everybody that is buying in from 67 up to 74, because everybody is expecting a drop down there. So it either pushes up from here, where we are right now at 87K, or we drop and liquidate everybody all the way down to 55K. Now we have to add to this also that we have the M2 global money supply, and as you can see here, it's on a bullish run. But the lag effect is about 3 months from it starting to run until BTC started to run. These ones are very correlated. So 3 months will take us to about mid of April. So up until mid of April, we can still see this choppiness continue here, and us creating bearish market structure with lower lows, lower highs, up until those levels I was talking about, 55, 67K. But once you see that shift, that these whales are starting to short heavily the market, but market is still not pushing down even though they are shorting it, that is when you know that a bull run is very close. And I can say I'm seeing it from time to time now already. A lot of shorts going on, and market is not pushing down. So I think that we are starting to shift. The institutions are starting to accumulate from the whales, but they're not done yet. So there will be one more liquidation effect or a liquidation event that will get these whales to totally panic. And that is when the institutions really step in, and you will have that balloon ball. You know, when you press a balloon ball under the water and you let it go and it just bounces up, you will have that effect on crypto. And this time, it is altcoins that will run. This time, of course, BTC will run, but you will see altcoins tear, because what's happening now is a lot of liquidity is rolling over from especially BTC, but even the big dogs like XRP, ADA, Solana and them, and it's starting to roll over more to mid caps now. So keep your eyes on mid cap. I've given you some gems like virtuals, for example. Virtuals have done very good. If you took the trade when I called it out on the live and also on the recording, then you are very high up on the entry zone. We were somewhere here at about 0.56. When I called it out, now we are at about 0.80. So we have done really good. And the same thing with ACH. ACH, I called it out when we were at about, you can see the green line here. That's the entry. So that is at 0.023. And we are right now standing at 0.27 almost. So a nice 17%, 18% gain on that one. And on virtuals, we have a very nice 35% gain. Now I'm dropping these gems for a reason. When I see oversold tokens in a narrative that is, I see hype coming into, that is when I call out these projects. So don't sleep on these projects when I call them out, and always DCA into them. Don't ape into them with all that you got immediately, all right? Now, if we look at the chart technically, then we can see that BTC is breaking out nicely and it's starting to push up. I want to warn about this bearish flag pattern or bearish wedge that we actually have here. So normally what happens in these kind of situations is that market, accumulates inside this wedge and then breaks below to take out all the liquidity that is trapped below. That would send us to about 80K on a BTC. And that could be that last drop I was talking about, because then on the bigger scale, on the bigger time frame, you see this bullish flag that is formed. So here we have exactly the opposite. Market has accumulated downwards, trapped a lot of liquidity here, and market will want to take that liquidity out. And that is that bullish ramp that will send BTC flying. And as you can see right now, we have broken out from it. So this is a special situation. I think that we will reject this resistance level here at about 88K, 88.8K actually, because that's where most liquidity is trapped, as we can see here as the next liquidation level, major liquidation level, about 400 BTC trapped there. And that is this mark that you see that I've marked out here, 88.8K. I think market is coming into this order block, is going to sweep this liquidity. And from there, I see market actually dropping down, retesting this major support that we have at about 87K. If it doesn't hold, of course, we're going much lower. But if it holds, if market shows good support here, then we can go actually much higher. And I think by Tuesday or Wednesday this week, we will actually know in what direction we are going. Are we going much higher or are we going much lower? I think up until then, we will probably be trapped here ranging a little bit. If we start exploding upwards, if we take out this liquidity level, we retest the 87 support level, and then we start moving upwards. The next level you need to watch out for is 95, 96K. And you see it up here. Why? It's because the same reason. We have lots of liquidity. You can see it here. Lots of liquidity trapped here. And we have about more than 1K BTC. So more than 1,000 BTCs in liquidation all the way up here. That is something market makers do not take lightly on and will want to liquidate. In the same time, looking at XRP, we can see also same thing. XRP broke out of this bullish flag, has mitigated most of the liquidity that is trapped here and is inside an order block now. And it looks like it wants to turn. Like if you compare it to BTC right now, XRP is actually more bearish and looks like it is just waiting for an excuse to start dumping. I see it coming back down to this order block, retesting it, but I would love to see it come down to 2.28 up to 2.3. That's an extreme order block. That's the order block that created this whole massive impulse move when the SEC case against Ripple was dropped. I would love to see market come down, clean up this liquidity, mitigate this order block and tag this order block. And from there, going in on a mega buy. That's a mega buy opportunity. And you best believe I will call it out on our Trade Ideas channel in Telegram. If you ain't in it, link is in the description box below. We send out everything for free. Market insight, trade ideas, and all of that good stuff. In Ethereum, I'm seeing exactly the same thing. We broke out beautifully from this triangle here. Market is pushing up, getting into this order block, making its way into this order block and coming into the stronger part of the order block here. As you see, I'm already like looking at sell positions. I think it's going to drop hard from here. And that is that. So we will take this market day by day. We don't know where the market is tomorrow, but we know one thing for sure. Market is going up. BTC is going to push up the whole crypto market to sky high levels, and it's going to melt faces, because once the bull run finally starts, You have never seen anything like this. The amount of money and demand that is in BTC and crypto right now, it has never happened before. And you know that we had some crazy bull runs before. So imagine this bull run. This is why it's stalling so much, because all these institutions, all these elites, they want to have a part of this cake. They want to have a piece of this cake. They want to be on this train when it launches. They know that this is a SpaceX rocket that will tear. And that is why there's so much pain in the market right now, because they're liquidating and liquidating and then they're liquidating again. So the whole purpose of that is to shake you out of the market, is to make you and these whales drop their positions, sell into the institutions. They can buy it and scoop it up as low as possible, as cheap as possible. And then it's all about patience. It's all about being resilient, holding your bag, diamond hand as they say it, hold it through the pain. And once the rocket lifts off, you are going to be so grateful for yourself that you held it up until now. This is not easy. It's actually super easy. You just DCA in and DCA out. DCA in, market dips, DCA out, market pumps. But in reality, it's not easy because we have the psychological factors. We are humans. We get greedy. We get emotional. And therefore, we want to, of course, utilize every opportunity to the maximum. And that makes us tripwire ourselves. All right? So just be patient, play cool. The patient and the cool ones are the ones that are going to benefit the most from these markets. And with all of that said, smash that like button if you got value out of this video. And I hope to see you at the top, because you know the bottom is way too crowded. All right, peace.